Hello. Now you see, if you're on Spotify, you're a little confused right now about what you're hearing. But if you're on YouTube, you see exactly what's happening, and you're still confused.
Josh is doing the cha-cha.
I was waving the arms. Oh yeah, the cha-cha.
Oh, the cha-cho.
Cha-cho.
Yeah.
Cha-cho. It's cool
Like-
because the camera's facing us. I see what I'm doing. I actually kind of like this more than having a producer. We should have a TV the camera hooks up to on the wall.
Just the monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my head hurts. I've had a headache since the spray paint incident. Guys,
Spray paint incident.
I got it all over my hands.
That wasn't an incident.
It was an incident. It was
It's not
a
an
moment
incident.
where Josh was a little slow. That's an incident. Also, my Bible's pages have been folding a lot recently.
On the corners, I
Yeah.
hate that. Yeah.
The pages are so thin because it's just such a
Mm.
thick book. It would be like $200 if they wanted thick pages.
So thin things.
Thin things.
Thick things are made out of thin things.
Yeah.
Like-
Make America thick again. Huh. That was a weird choice of words. It's another
That is
incident
strange.
that I've had today.
Well, anyways, how's life?
It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. It's not ugly good.
No. Well,
good.
sometimes. Just because,
That would be like a net positive now.
a positive,
Well,
a
net
negative pause, a net pause?
Yeah.
A net pause.
An ugly good day. I'd say that's a net positive.
It's like, your whole family was just slaughtered for Christ, but at least it was for Christ. Like,
Sounds like a horrible
it's,
day.
it's a horrible good day because they're in
not a
heaven.
horrible good day.
They're in heaven.
So it doesn't make it a good day.
But they were martyrs for Christ.
Yeah, but that doesn't make the day enjoyable.
Let's flip to a random page and see if the Bible disagrees with one of us. So they watched him and sent spies who were pretending to be righteous, and they seized him in his words in order to deliver him to the power of the authority of the governor. Seems like I was right. Flipping to Jesus'
What
death.
story is that?
Jesus' crucifixion.
What
I think.
spies?
Wait. No. This is the, is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar?
Yeah.
Oh, we're not should probably flip to the right book. John.
Yeah.
Chapter 13.
Yeah. Can I recline? Ooh, I am still in.
The issue with reclining is
cool.
you suddenly can't see the Bible.
No, but I'm chilling.
No, in the class that I teach,
Uh-huh.
I teach Mondays. He teaches Thursdays. And I feel so old because we're all sitting there, and I have to pick my Bible up to my face so that way I can see what I'm reading.
I can read it from here.
I'm blind.
You can't at arm's length.
Well, I can read it from here. It's just I mess up on words. No,
But
actually, this
also
isn't
you're
bad.
writing smaller, but
It might be the lighting in that room.
I
don't
can
know.
clearly see mine. Like I'm sure your
It might be the lighting.
font at my arm's length. I can
It
still
might
read.
just be because it's sitting in my lap and I just don't want to look down, so I pick it up to not look down as much. I'm not sure.
Are you serious? You're telling me you're sitting there teaching a class like this?
No, it's not in front of me like this.
Okay, that's reasonable, but
'Cause
just
I,
have it straight out in
Well,
front of you.
really, I don't even
That's
say a
weird.
full verse. I read half a verse, I talk about it, and I move on to the next part of the verse.
You move on.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a lesson just to less people. And there's more questions that everyone can answer these
Kind of
questions.
like a lesson.
Well, like a
It
normal
literally is a
Sunday
lesson.
lesson. Because I don't think that everyone who
Hey,
teaches does that.
You know, we haven't talked about this in a fat minute.
John Cena.
That too, but it's football season again.
It is.
So how are the Cardinals doing?
I don't know. I heard
You
good.
don't know.
I gave up on football, much like my grandpa,
Why?
because too much new stuff, like the new rules.
Like the new kickoff?
Yeah. Do you
Seems
like it?
fine. I mean, I prefer the old thing, but it still works. The only thing is it ruins onside kicks.
It did. You have to announce it now.
Yeah. Oh well, I guess. Ripped onside
And it has to be
kicks,
in the
but-
fourth quarter by the losing team. I love it when the good winning team threw an onside kick. It's always my favorite.
Yeah, like that's just
in the second
It's
quarter.
like communism. It drags down the good teams to
It
the bad
does.
teams level. But
See, people say that you can only do like this special onside kick like once when it's not like fourth quarter. Otherwise, people will be expecting it. I say no. They expect it less if you have already done it once or twice that season.
well, the Chargers finally a good team. We're 2-0. Got a good coach, good quarterback. Somehow we're pulling through without the rest of our offense being good, but the point is having a team that works together as a team.
That's nice.
So we beat the Raiders. That was lit. Forgot what the score was. And then we beat the Panthers yesterday. I think it was like 26-3. I could be wrong. Maybe they had 10. It was fun.
I have a big like cut. Oh, it's because I bit through my lips.
That sucks.
You ever just like eating and then you bite through your lip and it goes through another part of your lip? It happened to me a week ago.
I'm sure it does, but I didn't understand the way you said it.
Not 10 years ago. About 18 years ago, I would have cried myself to sleep doing that. My lips are messed up.
Aren't you 18? 19.
I'm 19. I would have been 1. I had to think about it too. I don't know. I'm like my dad, except 40 years younger. But I don't know my birthday. No, I don't know my age. I know my birthday.
Wait, so I'm a year and a half older than you.
I guess so.
Not 2.
It's okay. The walls are light. Let's read some Bible. We're on verse 1.
Of chapter 13.
Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come, that he should depart from this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. You want to read from there? I'm struggling.
You're struggling?
Uh-huh.
And supper being ended, the devil having already put it into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, rose from supper and laid aside his garments, took a towel and girded himself. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with a towel with which he was girded. Then he came to Simon Peter, and Peter said to him, Lord, are you washing my feet? And Jesus answered and said to him, What I am doing you do not understand now, but you will know after this. And Peter said to him, You shall never wash my feet. And Jesus answered him, If I do not wash you, you have no part with me. And Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. And Jesus said to him, He who is bathed needs only to wash his feet, but is completely clean. You are clean, but not all of you. For he knew who would betray him. Therefore he said, You are not all clean.
You can't be an extremist. You can't say no and you can't say more. You got to say yes. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. This song's been stuck in my head.
No, but it's true. It's a lot of balance. Like, when it comes to the big argument between predestination and free will, like, they're both in the Bible. You can't say one doesn't exist. They exist in balance.
But many people do say it. I guess you can say it. 4 monks. Like,
But like, you can't biblically say that one doesn't exist.
That 4 monks
They
sounds
both
out of
clearly do.
nowhere. Monopoly. So I'm reading things around the room. But yeah, I wonder if my Bible says anything.
And you know, there's a lot of like church splits just like that. That it's the same. Like, we can all come to a balance. You know.
This is cool. My Bible pointed out that he was trying to tell Jesus what to do. We don't want to tell God what to do.
No, definitely not.
It don't work. I've tried and failed.
I've
No,
tried
I
too.
succeeded in telling him. I failed in
Being right.
being right. That's where I failed.
Yeah, it's relatable, but you know, I don't know. We always just mention how it's kind of funny whatever Peter's saying at that given moment, but this time it's like what? Like, no, I just let me wash your feet. You have no part. Oh, then dunk the water over my head. Like, I love the sentiment and the energy, but Okay, now.
all out for Christ.
I don't know.
Peter's cool.
Peter's cool.
As long as I heard your dad was playing the song at a church event, and it was about Peter denying Christ 3 times.
Mhm.
That rap song, it was cool.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Not a clue what song that's called, but it was fun.
It's Peter.
It's Peter.
Yeah, by Urban D.
Peter by Urban D.
Yeah.
That's cool. Shall we continue reading?
You want me to, right?
I can read. I'll read 12 to 17. So when he had washed their feet, taken his garments. Oh, we watched our friend wash everyone's feet once because they were doing this in a play. That was fun.
That was funny.
That water looked nasty, I bet,
Uh,
at the end.
Yeah. They
So-
all put their feet in the same water. Church plays are
Beautiful.
strange sometimes, man.
Well, yeah. And sat down again. He said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you say, well, so for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Most assuredly, I say to you, a servant is no greater than his master, nor is he who is sent greater than those who sent him. If you know these things, blessed you are if you do them."
So usually when you hosted a party back then, you'd have your servants wash the guests' feet because they wore sandals.
Am I
and just-
dyslexic?
what?
I read a lot of things backwards, but it sounded better to me. Like you are is actually are you. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So you wash the feet. I don't know. How did Working Feet have a servant? Did you just have stuff there for them to do it?
Well,
Or did you do it?
Chuck Smith in the movie washed everyone's feet, so I think they just did it.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but I think the point here is the servanthood, obviously, but it's doing stuff for people that they could do for themselves, right? It's not just doing what needs to be done. For instance, say you serve in the Sunday school, right? Like, that needs to be done. These kids need to be somewhere while their parents are in the main service learning. And you might go to a church where you just have the kids in the service. That's fine too. But I'm just using as an example, if you have childcare, that's one thing. And that's serving, and that's difficult at times. I'm not taking anything away from that at all. I just want to express how it's the going above and beyond to where, like, Jesus' love, especially on the cross, is like something he didn't have to do, something we deserve to take on ourselves, right? But sometimes it's about that compassion and grace and like helping people out when like they don't necessarily deserve the help or when they could just do it themselves. You know, it's a part of serving them in that way. When, you know, I don't know, say they drove past a sign that said, "Don't drive here, there's nails," and they got a flat tire, and you go help them fix their tire. Like, it was their own fault. It was dumb, but it's about the serving and laying your life down for the brethren.
Like when the U.S. lost a fighter jet and some farmers found it. They didn't have to find that fighter jet. That's the U.S.'s issue, the government. I love
I
that.
think it's all our issue. But anyway.
Verse 18. You want to read it?
I do not speak concerning all of you. I know whom I have chosen, but that the scripture may be fulfilled, he who eats bread with me has lifted up his heel against me. Now I tell you before it comes, that when it does come to pass, you may believe that I am he. Most assuredly I say to you, he who receives whomever I send receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. When Jesus had said these things, he was troubled in spirit and testified and said, Most assuredly I say to you, one of you will betray me. Then the disciples looked at one another, perplexed about whom he spoke.
Can you imagine being Judas? What?
No.
Not a chance.
Yeah, no,
Judas
that's
was
true.
such a great actor in the play.
And he mentioned, most surely I say to you, he who receives whomever I send receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. So again, another, I guess, point here is to receive the brethren.
What verse did you read last?
20.
Oh, okay.
If you remember in 3rd John or second John? I think it was third. It might have been second. How there was a heretic going around the church in Ephesus and kicking people out of the church and not fellowshipping with all the missionaries and not supporting them and all that. And, it's important that, as Paul pointed out, that the labor is worthy of his wages, and respect to those who respect is due.
A lot of that's in 1 Timothy 5. It also says don't muzzle the donkey,
The
the
ox
ox
where he
when
treads the
treads the
grain.
grain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Paul. I didn't know it was in first or one of the Johns also, but Paul goes over it a lot. He's talking to Timothy in that one, and especially that a worker's worth his wage. I was thinking about that when reading it. I was like, well, that's interesting because a lot of people don't pay according to their wage. If you have a really good employee who does double the work, you probably want to pay him double everyone else.
Yeah. And, and it's also not entirely talking about that either. It's also talking about accepting the message that these people bring about Jesus. And it's important not to throw your pearls before swine.
That's a cool one. Also in Timothy.
It's not about judging a person's like, oh, he's going to hell one day. Nah. Right now, he might be. Hopefully one day he's open and receptive to the message. But even Jesus teaches us sometimes it's just a waste of time, man.
Yeah.
If they reject you, you shake the dust from your sandals. And even there, he was talking about Capernaum and how their judgment, I might be getting the city wrong, but their judgment was going to be worse than that of Sodom and Gomorrah on Judgment Day. And so it's important that when we're witnessing, we also tell people that the wages of sin is death and that is hell. Because if you're not saved, you're not going to heaven. You're going to hell.
Yeah.
And that should put some sort of fear in you to an extent. It should at least make you think, if this is true, is this true? What should that mean for my life? And if it's not true, I need to be sure that it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be sure. You got to make your decision on Christ. You can't just go on ignoring it and hoping that, you did more good things than you did bad things.
23. Now there was leaning on Jesus' bosom. Now there was, leaning on Jesus' bosom, one of his disciples, whom Jesus loved. Simon Peter therefore motioned to him and asked who it was of him who he spoke. I think it's interesting that he had a house first. Like, we can have possessions in this world, like a house.
What,
Yeah,
what house?
Well, it says Jesus' bosom.
Do you know what a bosom is?
A house.
It's not a house.
What is it?
That's his chest.
He was leaning on his chest?
Yes.
Man, I've always thought a bosom was a house.
No way, Josh. No way.
He's leaning on his chest?
Yes. In the next verse, it says, Then leaning back on Jesus' breast, he said to him, Lord, who is it?
I'm going to say it's a brain fart or a concussion act up, but, man, but bosom also means house, right?
I don't think so.
I'm restarting. Now, there was leaning on Jesus' bosom, one of his disciples whom Jesus loved, Simon Peter, therefore motioned to him. How did he motion to him? And asked who it was whom he spoke. Like, he's just...
No, he's like, hey, bro. Like, what?
But he's already on him.
Wait. Who No. No. Peter motioned to John, who was leaning on Jesus.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
It does.
Then...
Also, what do you think? I know this is always brought up. It's cliche, but, like, just John here just always being like, yeah, and also, he liked me a lot. I was his favorite.
John is great.
He never referenced himself by name. I think, honestly, it was probably a thing of humility. But I also think it was... He especially mentions it around Peter, too.
It's
like,
funny.
It had to be... Because right here, and then also at the end, uh, at the end of chapter 21 where Peter's like, well, what about him? Is he going to live until you come back? And then he motions to the disciple that Jesus loved. And Jesus is like, what's it to you? And it's like, there's always throwing Peter under the bus here and just being like, yeah, also, he loved me a lot.
There
I
was
his
also
favorite.
Moses who wrote that he was the most humble man in the face of the earth. Verse
I find it funny.
25. Then leaning back on Jesus' breast, he said to him, Lord, who is it? Jesus answered, It is he whom I shall give a piece of bread when I have dipped it. And having dipped that bread, he gave it to Judas how do you say it?
Iscariot.
Iscariot, the son of Simon. Now after the piece of bread, Satan entered him. Then Jesus said to him, What you do, do quickly. But no one at the table knew for what reason he said this to him. For some thought, because Judas had the money box that Jesus had sent to him, buy those things we need for the feast, or that he should give something to the poor. Having received the piece of bread, he then went out immediately, and it was night. So did some of the disciples not hear about him giving a piece of bread?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It's interesting.
Very, very weird.
Maybe they just couldn't believe it, too.
Yeah, maybe that. Judas was like lit.
So when he had gone out, Jesus said, Now the Son of Man is glorified, and God is glorified in him. If God is glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and glorify him immediately. Little children, I shall be with you a little while longer. You will seek me, and as I said to the Jews, where I am going you cannot come. So now I say to you, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. And Simon Peter said to him, Lord, where are you going? And Jesus answered him, Where I am going you cannot follow me now, but you shall follow me afterward. And Peter said to him, Lord, why can I not follow you now? I will lay down my life for your sake. And Jesus answered him, will you lay down your life for my sake? Most assuredly I say to you, the rooster shall not crow till you have denied me 3 times.
God shut the mouths of lions. God shut the mouths of roosters. That means a chicken's the same thing as a great beast. Anyways,
No, actually.
did you know Jesus knew the future? Because he is the future.
What?
Well, he knew that the rooster wouldn't crow until 3 times. He also knew he would hear a
Judas?
rooster crow. Jesus.
Oh.
Jesus also knew that Peter would hear a rooster crow. I don't hear a rooster crow every morning.
It's because there's no chickens in your vicinity.
Yeah.
Or roosters.
So imagine if Jesus told me I'd hear the rooster crow, and then I heard it. It'd sure be surprising.
Well, you see, this new commandment is very interesting. I've gone into it before, and I won't go over it today, but probably once we get to John 15, about how this new commandment wasn't really a new commandment. That's not calling Jesus a liar, but I think what he was saying there was rhetorical, like a new commandment, and then it ended up being the same thing they already knew. Kind of emphasizing, like, guys, this isn't hard. It's kind of simple, actually. And this is after he washed their feet, so it's demonstrating that. And I'm just going to talk a little about Peter, and you can take it away after that. But, it seems, if you read it a certain way, that Peter is saying all these good things like, well, I would die for you, Jesus, and blah, blah, blah. And it's almost like if Jesus just wanted to punish him and like, oh, no, you won't, and I'll make sure you won't, and I'll make sure you deny me, and blah. Well, that's not the case. Again, it's that balance between predestination and free will. Jesus just knew what Peter would do with his free will. And it's more that Peter was saying these big things to be prideful and be seen as good by his peers, and as if he was the greatest among them. And it was all a bunch of show, and Jesus wasn't into that. And that's the one thing he disliked the most about the Pharisees. And so he wanted to make sure that Peter was pure in that way.
And then Peter went on to run the Jerusalem church.
Yep.
Man, that's a step up.
Yeah.
That's a cool step up. If Jesus rebukes you, know that you're his his kin, as the Bible puts it.
Yeah.
His child.
Hebrews 13, right?
Yeah,
And
or
some in
12.
Proverbs.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
proverb and Hebrews.
Yeah.
Be chastened by the Lord, just as Peter was.
So that was chapter 13. And I talked more than Josh, so that's a
What do we
problem.
we
But
have 6 more chapters.
7, because we have 21.
7,
14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
8.
Yeah, 8 more chapters.
That means at least 8 more episodes before the rapture. Not really. Don't want to get smited. I'm not actually predicting the rapture. I don't. It was a joke. I can't take it back because it was never real.
Or we could
That's
just
what I
cut
say.
it.
But I do
But I
say
think I'm going to leave it in.
high school was lit, college is litter. I'm not going because I'm a quitter.
Is that your quote for the
Never
day?
said that before. That's good.
All right, make the sound of you quitting college.